Good afternoon. It's December 16th, 2024. You're listening to a little of column A, little of column B, hosted by Will Lemos and co-hosted by Zach Bishop. How are you doing today, buddy?
What is going on, Will? Another rough week of Patriots football, but we were just blessed by the schedule gods. As soon as the Patriots were I couldn't stand them anymore. It meant the Celtics were tipping off. I was able to make a nice transition. I looked to see this Sunday if I would be so lucky. We are not. The Celtics play on Saturday and then on Monday. So just plan accordingly. Just have a plan. It's so rough. I mean, Drake does some cool things, but just the rest of it is it's a mess. It's an absolute mess. A lot of injuries this week. Probably the most interceptions I've ever seen. To like the point of, all right, our starter threw too many interceptions. Let's put the backup in, and the backup almost immediately throwing an interception. Just some real rough quarterback play yesterday.
We both listen to the Bill Simmons podcast pretty regularly, and they will, I'd say semi-routinely, definitely early on, have the cross-offs of teams. I'm taking it to the next level of the cross-off teams. There are teams I'm done watching, and the Patriots might be one of them. Like, what is going to change in the next X amount of weeks or whatever the hell is left that is going to make you want to watch some of these teams? Some of these matchups, I mean, we started this last week with being like, are there any starting quarterbacks in this matchup? There is more of that this week, and I'm over it. I think that you got to be selective with this. They're never going to make it on RedZone. They're never going to make it to my screen. That's what it's going to be.
You had to, we should have been warned on Thursday when it was just a field goal fest, sloppy game, just so many punts coming in. Is like, oh, Rams 49ers. All right, this should be fun. Nope. Both teams banged up. Both teams it rained. I maybe use that as an excuse. I don't know. It didn't seem like it was wasn't snow. It wasn't a monsoon. It was just it was raining a little bit. But yeah, based off of that Thursday night game, I should have known that Sunday was going to be rough.
I've already erased Thursday from my memory as a fantasy Cooper Cup owner in 2 leagues. The only 2 leagues I'm in the playoffs in, the rest I'm just done. Goose eggs. 0.
It was the Coopers. Cooper Cup and Amari Cooper. I don't know how, but both zeros. Unexpected.
Erased. I have no content to relate to. There's nothing left. I erased it.
Waddle had 0. He got hurt. I mean, that was a little different, but it reminded me, we didn't do it this year, but last year we were doing the fantasy heroes and zeros, and then I'd have to, point out specific zeros, but there were, especially for the first week, for most people playing fantasy for the first round of the playoffs, there were some elite guys that did not show up. Derrick Henry, and with the Amari Cooper one, Josh Allen is close to setting records for a second week, and just 0 points. It seems almost impossible.
It feels impossible, and yet my entire possibilities of advancing for fantasy rely in Sam Darnold's hands tonight, where I am going against him. He was smoking hot last week, just 5 touchdowns. If he gets anything remotely close to that, I'm done. Do I have any chance at all?
On the flip side, and this helped you in your matchup, having Devontae Adams, 0 points at the half, and then gets 40-plus points all in the second half. And I think there's some crazy number about how many points he scored in the last 4 minutes. Just completely putting you in the situation. I just don't know for you, with Darnold, what Bears team shows up?
What do they have to play for? Are they actually a better team? Were they even a team that's even as good as we once thought they were? Can they even get back to that? I have no idea. All I know is that Minnesota's a better team. There's a scenario where they don't throw it at all, and they just rush the ball in every single time. Isn't that possible?
I mean, there's also a chance they just absolutely feast on Caleb and
defensive touchdowns,
pick sixes. Yeah, I could see that happening. Your concern is just, do the Bears sell out to shut down Justin Jefferson? I think that's what you want.
I think my concern is there's only like 4 storylines of this entire fantasy week, and I have like all of them. Like they're all just revolving around my matchup here, and it's like too much drama, and I'm kind of exhausted with it all, and almost want to be like, this could all be over this week too. You don't have to set your lineup next week. Just walk away. It could all just be done, and I'm almost just relieved and ready to move on to basketball. But for now, we still got to do a couple more weeks of picks here, so we'll kick off on Thursday here for our picks. Not really an update on who's winning and losing this. Nate's killing both of us. You're doing a little bit better than me, but not as good as him. But Denver Broncos at the Los Angeles Chargers. these are some weird teams with some strange records right now. They tell you that they're good teams. Denver 9-5, beat up the Indianapolis Colts. I think it's a solid team for a slow start, but there were some awful plays by Indianapolis in this game. Do we want to talk about the trick play? What was even the worst play of the Indianapolis this past week?
I don't think that I've ever seen that happen before. Where, I've definitely seen you throw it out to the wide receiver, he throws it back to the quarterback. It's like a super long flea flicker, and then the quarterback throws it. But then for it to get picked off for a pick six, I don't think I've ever seen a guy just be unblocked and just like waltz right in and say, "Oh, hello, yes, please, I'd have this football." I don't know what the Colts were thinking. I think they're desperate. Richardson has still not found the magic that he had last year, but I don't know if the solution is, okay, you're having trouble. How about we throw it to another guy that's going to throw it back to you? Because the third pass in this one play, that'll be the one that works.
Let's run a trick play where our quarterback who can't throws the ball twice.
Exactly.
Like, what is the trick here? We're still using our weakness. The trick was if the other guy threw it. It was like, oh, wait a minute. Maybe they do have an offensive arm threat here, and it's a wide receiver or whoever ended up doing it. But I've never seen anything run so poorly. It was read so perfectly and happened so fast. So Denver gets that play. They also get the Jonathan Taylor. I don't even know. We need to come up with the name of this. Where the fumble in the end zone where he drops the ball a second before he crosses intentionally, unforced.
Trying to be cool.
The Deshaun Jackson drop. It happened again. It's amazing to me that it happens. I ask you this: you're going to look at Jonathan Taylor a little differently after this one, because what a break for Denver that was. That's a touchdown.
You have to. Those points get taken off the board, and then the Colts just never recover. Now, I'm not saying that that is what cost them the game, but it's not like Jonathan Taylor is some young guy coming up or hasn't scored a touchdown before or whatever. It just you've been there. All you have to do is just hold on to the ball into the end zone. Then you can drop it. You can spike it. You can punt it. You'll definitely get fined for that. But at least in that case, the points will count. And again, this isn't something that happens once like every 5 years or something. This is multiple times this year. I just don't know how this isn't talked about. Just in every room. I don't know how this continues to happen. It is points that are just gone. You don't get the ball at the one, and then, he missed out on the points, fantasy related, but, somebody else punched it in, or you at least got 3. No. That's 7 points that are just erased. It goes to the other team. It's almost like you punted rather than getting a touchdown.
It's terrible. It's so hard to score. And you did score. You did everything right, and then you took it away from your own self. No one else forced this.
Unforced error. Big time.
All right, well, if we add that up, so theoretically, we're adding 7 points to Indianapolis, and let's say the flea flicker doesn't happen, and they just punt like every other team should have on that possession, and you subtract 7 points from there. It's a 3-point game with just that right there. So, like, as much as I want to give Denver some credit, and I do think that they are a superior team to Indianapolis, but that wasn't a great win. I don't feel great about that, and it makes me a little suspect going into this week where they're going to be on the road against the Chargers, who are also a little suspect of a team. They're just not the same offense without that running back. They haven't found a way to replace that. They had no offensive flow this past game, but their defense is still pretty good. So which battle of the defense do you think is going to win this week?
I'm going to go with the Chargers. I know this seems like a prime spot. You take the 9-5 Broncos, even though they're on the road, because it's going to be the Chargers, and you know what the Chargers do, but I think they've just been a little bit different this year. And we were just mentioning that last game, the Colts, it was just a meltdown, and Nick still threw 3 interceptions. He still has these rookie games that are going to happen. He was able to get the win, kind of gets smoothed over a little bit. But yeah, I'm going to go with Herbert. I'm going to go with the Chargers. I'm hoping that last week was the exception rather than the rule. That was just the mess. They're going to get their act back together. And so, I'm going to go with the Chargers. Don't feel amazing about it.
I don't think you should, which is why I went with Denver. I think this is going to be an ugly game, and they're going to have a very good chance at winning. It's going to be a 14-17 game. First team to 20 will probably win. And I don't see any reason why that can't be Denver. You have every argument in the world. It could be at home with the Chargers, and maybe their offense just suddenly turns back on and things just iron out. But I don't see that happening. I think Denver is a little bit more of a team of destiny this year, where I don't know how they keep doing it as well. This team has 9 wins. We're going to go through a lot of these teams. It's going to be like, how does that team have 9 wins and this team doesn't have any? mind-blowing. All right, so we're switching up on that one. Thursday night. Moving on to Saturday, we will have the Houston Texans at the Kansas City Chiefs. Some big news for Kansas City. Doesn't look like Patrick Mahomes is going to play. I'll ask you this, does he even need to play? This is a 13-1 team. They're going to play again on Christmas in just a couple of days, and then again, I think the following Saturday or something. Like they just have a lot of games in a couple of days here. Do they need Patrick Mahomes to win this game?
I don't think so.
Oh, man, I really thought I was going to be the one that zagged on this. I think their defense is the reason they've won all the games they've won so far. Like, what if Mahomes just started playing better? This team's amazing.
They're one of 4 teams that haven't scored 30 points this year.
Yeah, so I think they can win without Mahomes then. As long as that defense shows up, I think it's good enough to slow down whatever Houston has, as well as the Houston defense is non-existent. So what if the back for Kansas City was just even decent?
And are you all the way sure that Mahomes isn't going to play?
No, I was going to say the same thing. Does it not seem like that you can already imagine him hobbling this entire game?
This is different, but it was not that long ago in the playoffs where it sure looked like his ankle rolled big time, and one of those, he isn't going to play for a while. This is big trouble. And then he's right back in the second half. I don't know, they spray whatever magic, or I don't know how it works, but they figured it out. Probably hurt a whole bunch after the game, but he was able to play. So I'm not ruling him out that he's not playing. I think either way, I think they can win. This is going to be my bet of the week. I can get the Chiefs plus points, so I'm going with the Chiefs plus 110. As a recap, I lost yesterday again by a half a point. I had Pats Cardinals under 46.5. The total was 47. But you came out on top with the Buffalo money line.
Hey, I won something. And you want to know what's really the kiss of death here? Is I have the same bet, except I got the Kansas City money line at plus 130.
Ooh.
I'm with you.
Way to lock that in.
I'm just not sold on Houston. And if there's like a few, like what is the dominant defense in the NFL right now that is going to win a low scoring game still? I really feel like it's only Kansas City that's won those style of games this year.
It's like every game is one score, and it almost has to be because they're not scoring a ton of points.
I guess we're just so underwhelmed with Houston. The 9-win team here, are they better in Denver? They got the same amount of wins.
Yeah, I think the Texans are better than the Broncos, but I think they're going against the Chiefs. The Chiefs just have this crazy dark magic that they've been using. I could easily see this just being a one-score game, and I don't know. I don't know what more crazy thing can happen than they've already dealt with today. Like I think it's time for one of those crazy, 2 guys are going up for the ball and it tips, and then the guy on the ground, catches it. Worthy gets it, just laying on his back, and the ball falls into his arms. Like something crazy like that.
What if Mahomes only plays the second half? Like he just comes out of the locker room second half. It's like, no, I got it. That's the crazy thing you're looking for. Like
that'd be a crazy story, but that's never going to happen.
Yeah, I agree with you. Percentage of chance that he actually plays. What are you putting it on? Above 50?
I'll put it at 46.5.
I think it's 50-50. I'm not ashamed of saying, like, I wouldn't be shocked if he plays. Now, they don't need this game or the next game or really any of these other games going forward. Do you think there's a scenario where, was there a better game they should sit him with? I guess is really what I'm asking. Do you think this one or the next one? Like if he force him to play this one and then the other one's so quick, is he better off missing that one or missing this one and playing that one?
Well, I know the NFL would prefer he misses this one on Saturday and then plays on Christmas.
Yeah, I am going to agree with that. I want to see him play.
Both primetime standalone games. So either way, they're not thrilled at all, especially because as much as I'm thinking that he will play, I mean, he might legitimately be hurt. And before, that was playoffs. That was different. This might be, like you said, they have a 2-game lead. And we both think that they can win both of these games. So if you have that, let them rest. Get ready for the playoffs. They're not a team that that's got a bunch of guys that need to win the Super Bowl. They've won back-to-back. So you're able to play things a little bit differently than a lot of other teams.
I like where Kansas City's at. I know it sounds crazy. They're Patrick Mahomes is hurt. He's probably not going to play the next 2 games, and yet I'm still like, this team's awesome. Like, I mean, what do you think is more likely, that Patrick Mahomes comes back and this offense plays better, or Buffalo's entire team learns how to play defense?
The first one.
Yeah, right? Like, it's not even close. So it's like, well, let's just get that guy back, and this team's fine. I like the defense here. All right, on a first time ever where we are locking in and both have the NFL bets of the week the exact same. That is not discussed beforehand. All right, moving on. Next game, Pittsburgh Steelers at the Baltimore Ravens. This is also a Saturday game at 4:30.
No. Hold on. That's not true. And unfortunately, it is kiss of death. Yeah, on 11-11, we both picked the Chiefs money line and they lost.
Well,
hopefully it doesn't happen again.
It's pretty smart to take the Kansas City plus money anytime you can get it. It seems 13-1. That's the one loss they had.
Yeah, right? Yeah, we did that. So I don't know.
Yeah, that's an awful stat for us. That's just an amazing stat for Kansas City. All right, next game, Pittsburgh Steelers at the Baltimore Ravens, Saturday 4:30. No Pickens, no offense for the Steelers. Is that just what we're gonna do? I mean, how does this team have more wins than Baltimore? First of all, they have 10 wins. Baltimore has 9.
It doesn't make any sense.
It continues to not make sense. Well, it makes sense this week though, because this is a week where if Baltimore just puts up any points at all, they will win this game. Can they just score a couple points?
I want to just immediately say, yes. Did you see Lamar last week? But Lamar was playing against the Giants, so temper expectations. But I think Lamar is rounding into shape. I think, especially if George Pickens doesn't play, that offense is just mud. And I think that the Ravens are going to be able to score points.
I have Baltimore as well. This feels like the trap, though. We're doing it right now. We're saying all of these things, and then what does Pittsburgh do? Especially against in division, and especially against Baltimore, they just make everybody look silly all of a sudden, and that's why they have 10 wins.
All of a sudden,
are we falling for it? We're just falling right into the trap.
I think that the Pickens injury really hurts them, and that makes that margin of error like a lot thinner. I think even if they do all the right things, even the history, even within division. It just, Russell Wilson, he just doesn't have that guy he can just throw it up to.
That all makes sense. It really does. It didn't make sense that was working to begin with, if you ask me. So now that they don't have it, yeah, this should go back to not making the sense that it should have originally made. Next game, Cleveland Browns at the Cincinnati Bengals. The season of hell for Cincinnati just continues to go out. They do still have a chance to make the playoffs. Do you know what it's going to take for them to get in?
I do not. I didn't think they had a chance.
They got to win out. All right. So was that 3-game win streak here? Got to win. Got to beat Cleveland this week. And I actually think it's doable. All right. The Broncos have to lose out. So no more wins for Denver. I don't know. Based on last week, we said they got a lot of lucky things just happened for them. The Dolphins have to lose more than once. So they got to go 2-1. 1-2 over the next 3 games. And the Colts have to also lose more than once.
That seems like a lot of things that have to fall into place.
All right, but how many of those things seem that far-fetched, though? Denver not winning in games
individually, I think it's the Broncos losing all 3. I think it's the Bengals winning all 3, actually. What am I talking about? This team's only won 6 games. They can't stop anybody.
Joe Burrow's so good. It upsets me, especially when I watch all these miserable quarterbacks suck at this so much, and all their teams have just ruined everything. I can't even watch it. And here Cincinnati's got a really great guy that's awesome to watch, and it's just they don't win. It's I can't even imagine how frustrated they are if I'm frustrated just on the outside of all this. But I do think they still have a chance, and I do think that they should totally destroy Cleveland this week. Maybe I'm falling back into the trap of a team that's 6-8, but I mean this 3-11 Cleveland team. Winston got benched. Chubb broke his foot. What else could go wrong for that team? That's it, right?
That's rough.
All right, so we're going Cincinnati this week.
They bench Jameis. It looks like they might be moving on. I just don't think they have a better option. I think it's just a mess. I think the Jameis fun has run its course, unfortunately, and he needs to go back to being a backup for a while before we can play this game again. Maybe we throw Jameis in there. Maybe that'd be fun. And it's fun for us in the audience, but for the team, is not exactly working.
No, I imagine it just piles on the frustration of how comfortable he is in the public with everyone. Be like, we should all be miserable right now, and he's just this peppy guy that I think is just Jameis being Jameis at this point. But I could see that really just exhausting in the locker room.
But this is the exact game that I was talking about, where the Titans started Will Levis. He was terrible, threw 3 interceptions. They put Mason Rudolph in, and then almost right away he throws a pick. He ends up finishing out the game. He plays a bunch more, but it's the backup option. They're a backup for a reason, and it just seems like there's no spark. There's not even a little look pretty good. He didn't throw any interceptions. Like no, he did. We have to deal with that as well. But if you were a Bengals fan, does it give you at least any like sunlight that Burrow was hurt, last year, coming into this year was looking like, I don't know, but especially the past month or so, even though you're not winning, your quarterback looks awesome. And it's really what you need. Like, you need the quarterback, and to know you have the quarterback. Like, does that make this silver lining at all? Or it's, hey, we thought we were going to be going to a Super Bowl this year, and now we're not even going to make the playoffs.
The Jets come up as a team that had expectations and just didn't reach them, but I would at least say Cincinnati is watchable. It is painful, these endings, these shootouts that they've had, but at least you could watch this team and see them score. I mean, there are Sundays, the Patriots, man. It's like, are we going to score today? How many weeks are we going to go without seeing a touchdown? Like, how many weeks did we go without scoring a touchdown? They've never had that problem. So yeah. I think that, look, I hear we're biased Patriot fans talking here. We've had a whole bunch of success in our lives. Cincinnati doesn't want to hear any of this. Like, hey, at least you're like fun to watch. But the reality is yes, they should still be comfortable with all this. They are steps ahead of everyone else. And it is unbelievable that they got off to a slow start back-to-back years. You could point directly to injuries. I think if you wanted to get rid of the coach, that's a choice. I wouldn't do that because I've still seen the ceiling of this team the last 2 years, and it's generally really good. If they could just do that at the beginning of the year and not always be in such a hole, or maybe, get out of this division, I have no idea what other solutions they have, because it seems like they're doing a lot of things right. I mean, just look at the other team they're playing this week, Cleveland. You're telling me they wouldn't rather have that season? I mean, yeah. There's a ton of teams that wish they were Cincinnati right now.
All right.
Paul's got Cincinnati in that one. Next game, New York Giants at the Atlanta Falcons. This is a game I don't think I'm going to watch the Falcons anymore either. They can't blow this. They're playing the Raiders tonight on Monday Night Football, Atlanta. This should be a win streak. They should win tonight. I have no idea who's even playing quarterback for the Raiders. I have no idea who's going to play quarterback for the Giants. Atlanta should win these two games. Can they get a win streak?
Yes. Yep. They're going to win tonight, and they're going to take care of the Giants at home. Giants, they have no incentive to win. They're tanking. They want to pick. Falcons, even the Falcons can take care of this.
All right, keep it moving then. Detroit Lions at the Chicago Bears. Not a ideal ending if you're Detroit. I mean, definitely some suspect decisions. We could talk about an onside kick and the specific timing of it. But the reality is this could be good luck for the Bears, man. What are the Bears? They're playing Minnesota tonight. They're at Minnesota. I'm terrified Darnold's going to tear them up. And then they get to follow this up with Detroit, who's coming off a loss, and is going to love nothing else other than facing this team. The Bears should have hired Belichick. That's all I'm going to say about them. I got Detroit all day. Are you worried about the loss of Montgomery?
I've got Detroit as well. I kind of thought about the Bears, but the Bears have burned me too much. I think that the Lions will be able to take care of the Bears. They'll be able to outscore them. But I think going forward, this is, I think, going to turn into a 49ers situation where you're going to think of this team as a good team, and you've seen them. Like, I've seen them play well, and they have skill position players. But now I heard something, on a podcast earlier today talking about how they have 15 defensive guys on IR. Like, that's too many. And that's not even including, Montgomery, who we're talking about. I mean, they do have Jamar Gibbs, but just like we kind of saw with the 49ers, you can absorb a few of these, but that margin of victory, I mentioned this before, is like it gets smaller and smaller. So I could easily, and it's going to be unfortunate for the Lions fans because they were absolutely cruising, but to get into the playoffs, and then it's just, they didn't have even a prayer to stop Josh Allen. And for sure, Josh Allen's all alone. I don't know, whatever the reverse of victory lap is, I have to do that because I told people not to draft Josh Allen because he didn't have the same weapons they had before. Well, he sure figured that out, especially this past month. He's still looking like he's going for an MVP. That was a big mistake by me. But the Bills jumped all over him right from the start. And I think that's why they had to go for the onside kick with 10 minutes to go. Because I think they just thought that there's just no way we're going to be able to get another stop. So even if we give them the ball on the 50, we don't really care because whether they get at the 50 or the 25, they're scoring on us. So at least the 0.5% chance that we get the ball back is going to be worth it. I mean, there's no more trick onside kick. You have to announce it. It's obvious. Everyone's all set up for it. I think that hurt them, but there was no, it's not like there's any other options. But I think that was a real like coaching decision that like the actions speak louder than the words. And I think it's going to be a problem going forward, not against the Bears, but going forward.
I thought I'm happy you said all that about the kick. And you know what? I haven't heard anyone talk about this onside kick, of how well executed it was and how awesome of a kick it was. That guy did an awesome reception on it, but outside of that, it skipped, it bounced, it floated right in the air where you kind of wanted to. It went the right amount of yards you wanted to. It's just it's a play that you only
really hard to do
7% of the time is what I heard. So you're basically saying your defense has less than a 7% chance of stopping this team, is the reason you go for this. And that maybe doesn't sound great, but I also just think if your defense is hopeless to that point, also exhausted by that point. I mean, you don't think they've been trying all day that suddenly they're going to just, get a little extra gas right now in the fourth quarter? I mean, they're probably toast. It's a weird team, though. Jared Goff has won a game throwing 5 interceptions this year and has also lost a game throwing 5 touchdowns, which was yesterday. This is a weird team. That being said, there's no way this Bears team is going to beat this team. As weird as those stats are, as much as all those woes are, they're just better coached and better prepared. I would be astounded if Caleb Williams just lit this team up offensively. I just don't see it happening. Or at least I'm going to start looking at him a whole lot differently. If he takes down as bad as this defense is and just lights them up and keeps up, because the Detroit's going to score. Well, that's all they got to do. They got to put some points on the board and they'll be fine. I don't think they can fix the defense. So you're right. Going long term of this is.
It's just, you just can't pick guys up off the street. Maybe you get lucky in a couple of spots. It just sort of works out, but it just at a certain point, it runs out. Like the luck runs out and these guys get exposed, and like there's a reason that they weren't on a team. It's because they weren't good enough. And these guys that are playing, that are starters, they're starters for a reason. And once they get hurt, I love the next man up philosophy, but it just doesn't end this thing that just like always works.
All right, we both got Detroit in that one. Next game, Tennessee Titans at the Indianapolis Colts. These are the teams I'm done. I'm done watching this team. I'm not watching Tennessee again. What could you tell me that I need to watch to catch up that I can't just wait until next year? Until they sign, draft, or do something with that quarterback position, I'm out. Pick Indianapolis this week. I will not watch this game. I will be shocked if this reaches red zone on Sunday at all. Who you got in this one?
I'm going with the Colts because they're at home, but these are some bad teams. I like Anthony Richardson more than I like either of the guys the Titans might throw out there. So scraping the bottom of the barrel here.
Next game, Los Angeles Rams at the New York Jets. The Rodgers, Devontae Adams second half is amazing. But I mean, what are we talking about here? At what point is it like we're eliminated? We just need to do all this. It's everything is just promotion for this silly documentary. I'd like to think the Rams season is very much still alive, and this is a game they just can't afford to blow. And as well as, shouldn't everybody take a chance and be excited to beat Rodgers one last time? Because these games are limited. You get to handle one more loss. I got the Rams in this one. I'm amazed New York even showed up in the second half. And do you think they got a chance this week?
I'm going to go with the Rams as well. They got a little extra time after that snooze fest on Thursday night. And yes, the Jets did win. They did win on the road. It was against the Jaguars. It was against Mac Jones, and they won by a touchdown. Was it exciting? For sure. All the old heads. Aaron Rodgers, Devontae Adams. Oh, awesome. Just like back in the good old days in Green Bay. But you beat the Jaguars by one touchdown. It's Mac Jones. Mac Jones, he was having himself a day. He was feeling himself. I don't know what was going on there, but that was weird, and I don't know what it was. But
I won't allow it. No, stop it. He's the same guy who will keep you in the game long enough to break your heart at the end because he has no chance.
No, I mean like the dancing and yelling at the defenders and doing weird stuff like going out of bounds, and then it was just it seemed like a misplaced confidence that I don't know. I don't think I've seen it before, and I don't know why it was coming out yesterday.
It did feel like he was a character that suddenly got a nickname, and it's like, who is this guy? What? Nobody's ever called him that. What?
Yeah. So I don't know what was going on there. I don't know if it was because it was the Jets, so it was put on a little more on TV than Mac Jones normally gets time, but I don't know. I don't know. I'll be interested to follow up on that. I think that would be the only interesting left about the Jaguars.
Maybe he's just learning how to own it. I mean, he's been I hate to say it, a loser for a couple of years now in the NFL. I mean, you're going from a miserable Patriots team to a very miserable Jacksonville team, and he's just embraced that. I got to make the most of this. I got to have fun. This is awful. I understand it's awful, but I can at least crack some smile throughout this entire game, and that's all it's going to be. I don't know.
So, maybe it's all right. Well, my abilities only go this high, but you see what happens with Jameis, where if you just bring something to the table, you can at least get thrown out there some more of just you're entertaining, and like that'll get you a couple more starts. And he knows, all right. Max this year, I can only get 3 more starts. We'll see, if anybody's returning, but if not, it's 3 more, and you just try to get, on GM's minds, and maybe you'll get another opportunity next year.
I hate it, but I agree with it. I hate all of it. I've seen enough of Mac. Because I've watched Patriot games. I've seen enough, and every time I watch it, it's like, maybe he sees the right thing, and then he launches it like 10 feet over the guy because he's so cautious with everything. He's so scared to throw anything in there. I sent you a joke during the game being like, I think he's still scared Belichick's going to yell at him after this. Like, he's still throwing it like super cautiously, like, you don't turn the ball over ever. And then the game gets tighter, and he has to make a play, and he forces that play, and he throws an interception. I've seen it. I've seen the show before.
I know how this ends.
I know how it goes. All right, next game, Philadelphia Eagles at the Washington Commanders. I don't want to call AJ Brown a crybaby, but my goodness, the guy just whines 1 week and suddenly Saquon doesn't play, and they never run the ball the entire game, and everything's all good now. Are we buddy again? Do you feel good about Philly, or does this just feel like it feels like manipulation? I don't know how else to describe it.
It's definitely manipulation, and it worked. So if you're AJ Brown, you're happy. They got the win. It was a little closer than you probably would have liked, but yeah. If you're going to be upset about being on a 12-2 team, I mean, I guess this is the way to do it.
I can't think of the translation of what this would be in basketball. It's not just shots. It feels like it's something different. It's not minutes played. It's just strange because they're so successful, and it seems so individually selfish to speak loudly about it, especially with Saquon getting, I say, some MVP whispers. I wouldn't say like it's dominating a conversation because I doubt they'll ever give it to a running back, but a reason to be happy for a running back that's having an incredible season.
You could bring it up without getting laughed out of the room for sure.
So, it feels very jealous and being not the bigger man in the locker room. And that's a little upsetting for a team that's as good as they are and has a promising future right now this year. Like, why are we trying to ruin all this? Why do we need to tension up the locker room? Like, I hate to just shut up and do your job for the next couple of games. You might win a Super Bowl. Like, I mean, this could all blow over, or you could blow this up and you have no chance. Are you going with them this week?
Yes, I'm going with the Eagles this week. I don't know if it's going to be a throwing AJ Brown game or if they're going to go back to a Saquon Barkley game, but I think either way, I think they can beat them. I don't think that the Commanders, even at home, they're not quite ready for this level of game.
No, they're on the decline. We haven't seen a Commanders team. This is a team that a little too soon. All right, they got the training wheels back on. I got Philly this week. It's too bad. I like Daniels. I like everything the Washington's had this year. It's still a successful year, but
and it's fine. This wasn't even supposed to be the year. So if they make the playoffs, that's just found money. Like we were talking about the other teams that are a disappointment. This is a team that if you're a Commanders fan, especially with the history that you've had of we have the future quarterback and we're going to make the playoffs, even if they fizzle out. Just next year was supposed to be the start of this. This is a year early.
Next game, Arizona Cardinals at the Carolina Panthers. Arizona played New England. New England is terrible. We talked about that. We got a big Connors game. I like how they had a good running game. I don't think McBride has a touchdown this year. Did you know that?
Nope. Most catches all time without a touchdown.
Yeah, that's a weird stat. I don't like. Do you? If that was about you, are you happy that they're sharing this? Be like, really good, doesn't get touchdowns.
I don't think you're thrilled about it. I think touchdowns are the ultimate goal here. You kind of want to get off that list.
I mean, if that was AJ Brown, I think we would have heard about it. What, week 3, 5? Like, he hasn't said a peep yet, or maybe he is, and we haven't heard about it, and that's a better locker room for that reason. Is there any chance Carolina's going to win this week?
Yeah, I'm going to pick the Panthers.
God damn it.
I just, the Cowboys, they're bad, so that's not great, but we're in December now, and I think I got a better chance of picking the Panthers than picking the Cardinals.
I'm gonna change my pick. I don't do this. I wanted to guess the other way on you on this one, and I also had Carolina. But now that you went with them, I almost feel a little bit more like I should go with the safer bet here. I am. All right, I'm gonna do it. I'm doing Arizona.
All right,
I'm doing it live here. Gonna try to get a couple picks out of here.
I mean, they looked pretty good last week. We make all these teams look really good.
That is really true. But that also means it's not like Carolina had a good week last week. They got lit up by Dallas. Next game.
Did you hear what Mayo had to say after the game to this time?
Oh, no. Why? What are we? He's still our coach. He's going to be our coach for at least a couple more games. Why do we need to assess everything he says after the game?
It's not everything he says. There just shouldn't be something after every game that you go, what are you doing, coach? Who does this help? When they ask you, hey, did you think about running Mac Jones? Or not Mac Jones. Oh, yikes.
Oh, boy.
Do you think about running Drake May at the goal line? And then he answers with something like, well, you asked the questions, or you asked the question, not me. It's like, wait, so are you throwing shade at the offensive coordinator, or what are we doing here? Like, we're already struggling. All the things. It's like, just don't say anything. Say the coach speaks stuff. Get out of there. It just seems like every week there's just some sort of comment that I go, why are we making this worse? Why is there a fire? And rather than putting water on it and hoping that this gets better, we're going to just throw some gasoline on it and wonder, who could have seen this happening? Why are my eyebrows burned off?
I don't know if he's messing with all of us or if he's just truly that terrible at this. Like, he's just feeding us this miserable press conference every post game. And it's a different way at Belichick where it's like alarming. It's like he's trying to get a rise out of everybody every week. Like, yeah, no, I don't know. We got real lot of problems here. No, you're not ever supposed to say that. Like, of course we do, but
that's obvious.
I don't think you need to be reading into it anymore. I think this is the point where whatever he says, you just ignore. He's just messing with you. He's just trying to get the biggest panic out of you possible, and it's happening every week. You're letting him do it.
Who is that good for? It doesn't seem like it's good for the Patriots.
I don't think it's going to be good for you to be taking this word for word every week either, though. Like, you just want to jump up and down that this coach is crazy? Like, you want to get rid of him 1 year? No way.
Well, Kraft is way too cheap to get rid of him, so we don't have to worry about that.
Well, we don't even know how much he's making. This is like a handshake deal from 10 years ago, and I don't want to talk about it. We're a terrible team. We might have a terrible coach. A terrible coach is even worse at press conferences. Yes, that's our coach. Next game.
Get at something.
Minnesota Vikings at the Seattle Seahawks. Minnesota taking on the Bears for Monday Night Football tonight. Seattle had no Kenneth Walker. Geno got injured, and this is one of the ugliest games you're going to see all year. Green Bay taking care of them last night. Seattle got enough juice to even compete for this? I mean, it didn't look like they could do much without Geno. I did not get a very good Charbonnet game, which they did the week before without Kenneth Walker. I'm thinking the Bears are going to get smacked tonight by Minnesota, and that's going to be enough of an outcome to be like, how do you pick against Minnesota? Darnold versus the world. I got Minnesota. Who you got?
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Vikings on the road. Yeah, Geno didn't look good, and just I didn't like anything that I saw over there. I was hoping for a more competitive game, and Packers just jumped out on them, and I was holding on, and at some point it's just, nope, this is going on mute. This is not going to be a game.
Next game, New England Patriots at the Buffalo Bills. Keep this short and quick. We got the Bills. Drake had a really cool touchdown. That was a cool little toss, little fake toss. No look with the guy.
Chest pass.
I was impressed.
Oh, no, he had the flip.
The flip, yeah.
Josh Allen had the chest pass shortly after. It looked like it was the same in real time, but then on the replay it was a little different. It was nifty between two defenders.
Hey, you were talking about Detroit's defense just being terrible. Is there any chance that maybe Drake could light up Buffalo here? Can we get 3 touchdowns out of Drake this week?
We might get 3 touchdowns out of Drake, but the way that Josh Allen is going right now, he's going to go for 6 touchdowns. This might be one of those games. This might be like that playoff game where we played against them where they never punted. I think that's a real concern.
I'm going to ask you this non-sarcastically, but kind of sarcastically. So 13 minutes for the onside kick in the fourth quarter or 12 minutes? Is that should we start doing it in the first half maybe? Just onside kick. 7% chance of converting an onside kick. At what point do we have less than 7% chance of stopping him on defense? That's when we just start doing the onside kick. That's basically the philosophy that Detroit did this week.
I don't hate it. It sounds crazy, but if you have 1% chance to win the game, and this is the craziest thing that you have to do. Like, what does it matter if you lose by 7 or you lose by 30? It's just, hey, it's still lost, still counts as one, but let's go out swinging. Let's get crazy. Try something different.
You know why we can't do that? Because we don't have a coach that can do a press conference after that can handle that sort of anything like related to this. It's just not doable. Like that's a weakness of having a guy that's not good in the press conference after. If you take any chances and it blows up in your face, you have no cover. You just have egg in your face, and everyone just wants to throw it at you.
That would be a lot of egg.
All right, both got Buffalo. Keep it moving. Maybe Drake will be cool this week. Next game, Jacksonville Jaguars at the Las Vegas Raiders. I'm not watching this game. I've seen enough of Mac. I don't know what is going to change. The Raiders don't even have a quarterback. This might be a game where you just see direct snaps to 2 running backs the entire game. I don't know if anyone will score. Who you got in this one? I went with the home team with the Raiders. It's not an argument. It's just a choice.
I am also. The Raiders are at home. These are 2 bad teams, bad quarterbacks all around. There are no starting quarterbacks in this game. Yeah, so you got to pick somebody. Give me the Raiders.
Next game, San Francisco 49ers at the Miami Dolphins. We get a little bit better quality of football here, but still not great. Some struggling teams. These are both 6 and 8 teams. Do you feel better about one over the other?
Dolphins at home just by a little bit. I know it's risky, but after you go from Jacksonville and Las Vegas, you're like, oh, okay. But if we had gone in like a different order, you're going ew on these ones. So yeah, these teams have not quite figured it out. Pretty scary scene in the Dolphins game. So we'll see how that impacts them going forward.
I got the Niners. I think if the Niners are going to win on the road, it's warm out there for them too. I don't be warm for Tua also, but it's nice for San Francisco to at least travel over there. I don't have an argument other than that. I just think there's no way the Niners can be as bad again as they were last week. There's just no way. They have extra time. There's no way they can be that bad. I mean, maybe they are. Maybe I'm wrong. I refuse to think that this team is that bad. I mean, they scored 6 points last week on a Thursday. I understand short week, but they're not going out like that.
That's not enough points.
Yeah. I think they're going to get more points than Miami this week. I fell for Miami the week last week. The week before, they were great. They lit up a team. I don't know what's going on with them. They're a weird team, too. All right, enough of the bad teams. Next game, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. There's a real good team. MVP for Baker. Mike Evans is back. Bucky Irving's great. All right, they're going to be at the Dallas Cowboys here, who just beat up the Panthers, and they're going to be riding all high with Cooper Rush here. I think they got no chance, but somehow this will be a good game. I think this will be a high-scoring game. I'd love Baker in this one. Let's get 4 more touchdowns for Baker. I got Tampa Bay. Who you got?
Yeah, give me Baker again. I like what he's doing.
Me too. It's going to be fun to watch him beat up the Cowboys, too. Is that going to be great?
A lot of people beat up on the Cowboys these days.
Ooh, shots fired. All right, last game. Monday night. New Orleans Saints at the Green Bay Packers. Are the Packers just finding the groove at the right time? Got a Josh Jacobs running game that looked really good against Seattle. I have no idea who's going to be starting for the New Orleans Saints. Kamara had an incredible catch and then was hurt like minutes later. I have no idea what to expect from the Saints. I have Green Bay. Good luck if you want to pick the Saints. I think this is a good time, right?
Yeah, this does not seem like a good time. Yeah, I'm going to go with Green Bay. I have to imagine it's going to be a rattler. I thought Hainer, I thought it looked really bad. Like, it looks scary bad. Not, oh, this guy just isn't good. I think this guy might get hurt. Like, what is this guy doing out there? So, yeah, he did not stay out there very long. We'll see. Yeah, we'll see going forward who they even decide they want, especially if Alvin Kamara is hurt. That was not good because he has been one of the lone bright spots. But, yeah, give me Green Bay. That seems like the much safer bet.
I mean, Green Bay, they're 10-4 right now. This is a good team. They're going to beat this team. They're not going to lose this game. They're going to get 11 wins so far. I think if you told me Green Bay was going to have 11 wins at this point in the year, I don't think I would have bought into it. I'd really,
especially at home. It's going to start getting cold. Other teams, especially a team like the Saints that is out of the mix. Yeah, do you really want to go out there and your T-shirt when it's 20 degrees and start hitting people? I think it just people start making business decisions.
All right, well, those are our NFL picks. The only thing we didn't talk about is some of our beef with RedZone. These in-game commercials.
We noticed it immediately.
What are we doing?
You can't sneak it past us.
I don't like
7 hours of commercial-free football is how this starts.
forget all of that. I don't care about all that. The in-game stuff is pissing me off. They cut off Tom Brady. Tom Brady's talking mid-sentence in between the play because they're still showing the plays. It's not like we cut to a commercial. And if you are going to cut to a commercial, just go to a commercial. I don't need to watch the game on the sideline if you're going to cut off the announcer while he's talking. I mean, what are we doing? I mean, Brady definitely didn't know they were going to a commercial, so it's probably his fault. But if he's talking, there's no way you could just punch an ad in mid-sentence and just say, no, we don't care what that guy's going on. As well as there was a flag on this play. Like, I'm still watching football. If the game's still going on, you have to show me football. You can show me all the ads or whatever you got to do in between. There are enough stops to do it. That's not one of them. That's not a top. A stop. You can't do that.
And they've already gotten away with the game on in the bottom corner of the screen with the audio. Everything's still on, and they'll have some sort of almost like a billboard. But this was, we have two boxes and we have the video still going, but just cutting the audio off. And like you said, and it wasn't in the middle of the play exactly, but it was still in the middle of the game. Like you said, Tom Brady got cut off. There was a flag. I'm trying to figure out what's happening. And the first time it happened, I was thinking, oh, they meant to go to a different game. They got tricked by a commercial. Every once in a while, a commercial will peek on for, a second or two. And then, they jump in, they take care of it. Once it happened after that, it was out saying, wait a minute, this is on purpose. Did the NFL know this was going to happen?
It's targeted towards RedZone. Yes, it's obviously targeted towards RedZone.
Will this be fixed next week?
No, this is the problem. Is that they continue to make money, we continue to watch, and we're going to watch again next week. We're going to watch even more for the playoffs, and they got us. It's awful. But if you're asking me in the vast spectrum of like how invested I am to the NFL, this was a step in the less invested direction for me. It's not enough that I'm going to be abandoning it or not talking about it next week or not even watching in the future. But I will tell you this, it is closer to the step of the direction of, do I need to watch this live at all? Because if it's going to be like this live, I will just wait and I will fast forward through all your 15 seconds nonsense. It's so loud. It's so disturbing. I also would love to know, we could do a general topic on all this. Who is this advertising still working on? Who's watching all of this with these loud ads blasted at you over and over and over again that is like, you know what? I really do need a T-Mobile or a Verizon something. Or I do really need this, or I really do have that problem. I mean, who is falling for all of this? Nobody.
It clearly still works because they're still pumping it out there. It's making money somehow, but this is a service that it's a paid service, and the whole idea, like I said, starts the day off, gets you excited for football, and then right before kickoff, this is going to be 7.5 hours of commercial-free football, and it was not 7.5 hours of commercial-free football yesterday. So Scott Hansen can't be advertising that if that's not the case anymore. Yesterday it's 7.5 hours of football.
All right, but it wasn't.
But you can't lie to me.
It wasn't RedZone that showed the commercial. It was RedZone showing the game, and within the game showing the commercial. Did you get this difference? It's not like it was an ad that RedZone ran. It was an ad that they were showing.
No, I think it was.
No, it was an ad within the game.
Oh, so you think that they put the ad on for the other game? The way that it was perfectly placed, it sure seemed to me like they did two boxes, and it was, we're shutting this game off and we're putting this commercial on that is specifically for RedZone. That's the way I thought it was, because it came on and then came off. It didn't go back to the game on that because it was on the left-hand side. It didn't go back to any game there. And it was never like two commercials. It was always one commercial and then it went back.
I'm pretty sure that was happening in the live. At least that's what I thought.
I think it just looked that way. I think because it had the two boxes and that's the way the two boxes normally look.
No, I thought it happened. That's why I got cut off at the real broadcast. RedZone didn't cut them off.
I think it was a RedZone ad.
I don't. I think it was an ad.
We're going to find out.
I think it was in real. They wouldn't cut Brady off talking with that. Or you know what else they do? I do notice this when they do cut to commercials. There's nothing else to show. They just cut to Scott Hansen, and he tells you something.
Yeah, that's why I think it was on purpose, because it was full commercials. It was more than once, and unless Hansen was really not in his game, which I just don't believe that's the case. I think this was the start of, you know what? I know they're paying for RedZone, but we still need to get these ad numbers up. So we're going to start throwing commercials in there. And I think either if there's not enough uproar, that there's just going to be more and more commercials, and it's going to be hard to watch the games.
I'm just not going to watch them live. That's unfortunately the compromise I'm willing to do. I don't think it hurts them at all, though. I'm still watching. I'm still talking about it. I'm still going to play fantasy. Like this is the worst part about this. I have no negotiations. I have no leverage in this at all. None of us.
Zero leverage.
None.
And they know it.
They're going to add another game. They're going to add another game. We're going to watch another game.
Yep.
All right, enough NFL. We already gave you our picks. We're both all in on Kansas City. That's only gone wrong exactly one time this year.
No way it could go wrong twice.
No
Not
way.
for both of us. There's no way.
We do have a college football championship week. I guess we're calling it, I don't know, what do we college football bracket? What do we? I don't know what it is. We got the first round. Got some buys, but we'll kick things off on Friday here. We said last week we'd make some picks. Friday we'll have number 10 Indiana at number 7 Notre Dame. I haven't really looked at the plus money and all this. I believe Notre Dame's a favorite in this, but
7-point favorite.
I know you're already a Notre Dame fan, so it feels silly even asking this, but I assume you're going to be going to Notre Dame. Is there any real argument with this? I made some picks here. I don't really have a lot of arguments. I'm just picking teams based on what I've heard briefly through the podcast that I listened. But I got Notre Dame in this one. I imagine you do as well. Perhaps you could tell us a little bit more than that.
I do as well. When I was looking at the at the field, you could have maybe talked me into SMU, but I think out of all the teams that were in this first round, I think that Indiana is one of the weaker ones. I think it's going to be really cool that it'll be Notre Dame that hosts the first college playoff home game. I think that place is going to be absolutely electric. They know how to do game day, 8:00 night game. I think it's going to be a bunch of fun. The gold helmet's going to be looking awesome in the lights. So yes, I'll be going with Notre Dame, 8:00 Friday night football.
Yeah, I got Notre Dame as well. The winner of that will face number 2 ranked Georgia, and
that's going to be tough
in an upcoming week. Yeah, that's challenging here. All right, Saturday noon we'll have 11 SMU at number 6 Penn State. I hate to just pick all the favorites and all this, and I didn't do this. I will eventually pick that, but I just don't think SMU is the one to pick here. I think Penn State kind of falls into a better spot right now too, where if they win, they'll be playing Boise State, which, depending on your opinion of them, I think that sounds pretty good from Penn State. Be like, all right, I got to take on SMU and then maybe Boise State. All right, and then you're just in, then you have a chance. I like Penn State in this one. I just think that that's a decent route. I could be completely wrong with this, and it could be a complete advantage for SMU, who will get the same route. But who you got in this one?
I'm going to go the opposite way.
Oh, boy. It.
Yeah. Not going all favorites over here. I am going with SMU. I would have liked there to be a stronger team here, but they were just in the ACC championship game. Were not successful. It was a very close game. But I think that James Franklin, the coach of Penn State, he just has a problem in really big games. And some of the time that is also when they're home games. So games like he's expected to win, when it's been a really big game, there's been some turtling that's happened. And so I could see that happening again. And that's going to happen on Saturday afternoon. I'm wondering if they're going to go with if a lot of the big games to go with a whiteout, but it seems like a lot of times when they go with one of these color rush sort of games, they do not come out the victor. So yeah, I'm going to go with don't go with the underdog.
We do have some really kind of classic colleges hosting these as well. I mean, we get Notre Dame, we're getting Penn State. Next one, we're going to get number 12 Clemson at number 5 Texas. I mean, this is cool. These bowl games normally I have no interest in, and they mean nothing anyway. So this is a major step up than that.
And not only that, it's nowhere near like the two schools. It's just for TV. So there's, especially during the day, there's some fans where you better believe all of these stadiums are going to be absolutely packed. A home playoff game, like, especially the first year, I think this is going to be a huge win.
Yeah, I think these second 2 first round games are going to be a hell of a games here. I'm going to go with Texas at home. I think Clemson is fully capable of winning this game, though. That's at least a football school that's had a lot of success over the last couple of years. That if you told me they're a 12 seed, you'd be like, how did that happen? Aren't they normally like one of the better teams? And it's like, well, they're still alive and they could still be one of the better teams. Do you think they will be this week?
Yeah, I like Texas in this one. I just think, Clemson has had success, but Dabo just coming in and saying, I'm just not going to do the transfer portal. Like, you're actively shooting yourself in the foot, saying, I'm not going to take advantage of something that everyone else is taking advantage of on some sort of, I guess, like a moral stand. It doesn't make any sense. So, yeah, I'm going to go with Texas.
The winner of that will play Arizona State. All right, last first round game, Saturday night, 8 p.m., Number 9, Tennessee at number 8, Ohio State. This is going to be the good one. I think this is going to be the fun one. I got Tennessee on this one. I'm not even sure if they're truly an underdog. I think this should be a fun game. I'm excited for college football playoff. What can I say? You got me this week.
I'm going to go with Ohio State. I think they were looking ahead. They thought Michigan was going to be a cakewalk. Michigan, that was their Super Bowl. I think that there's been plenty of time for them to just kind of have to stew in this, and I think they're going to come out and they are not going to be looking to mess around. And that, Ohio State is going to get the win over Tennessee.
Can't unsee the Michigan game. It happened.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you.
All right. Anything else for college football? Oh, actually, yeah. No. We got Travis Hunter won the Heisman here. Is that our top Patriot prospect? What are we going after here?
I don't know. Earlier in the year, I think I was saying yes. It sure looks like we are not going to have the number one pick. So kind of depends on how it falls out on which, what position player I think these guys at the top are looking for. If it's the Giants up at the top, they're going to be looking for a quarterback. I think the Panthers less likely to be looking for a quarterback. We're not looking for a quarterback. I just wonder. I think that the Travis Hunter winning the Heisman, well deserved. He's playing both sides of the ball. I mean, so it's hard to compare to other players because that doesn't happen. But as now we're transitioning a little bit from the college season to draft season, I just wonder, is there a concern that, yes, he's able to play both ways in college? Would he be able to do that in the NFL? I'm not sure. And then even if he was, are you getting, and it's still amazing, like a 6, maybe a 7 on offense and defense, but wouldn't you rather draft, a 9 that only plays one way? So I'm not so sure. I know he was successful. I just don't have it plugged in enough to know is there even a shred of possibility that he could play both ways in the NFL. That just seems so hard.
I think he's got to go to the right team that's even willing to work and coordinate with that. I don't think it'll be easy. I'm not saying it's a road he should go down, and he shouldn't be that committed to it. I think ultimately, depending on what team he goes to, they may force him more or less into picking one or another, and it might not even be up to him. They might like if this was Belichick, I think he would try out, and if Belichick was like, nah, he beat the guys out. If he wants to play, he's going to play. I don't know if every other team would do that, but I think certain coaches and maybe certain systems would be open to that. I have no idea what Mayo would do with it. I just don't want to even hear him talk about it. The post game of him being like the second we draft him is going to be awful. Like, all right, we're gonna do both ways. Be like, well, we'll see. Seems like you did that in college, but this is the NFL. And like, we're gonna get weird answers like that make no sense at all. It's gonna have nothing to do with his ability. It's just to be like, is this a good idea or a bad idea? But I would be very excited if he was on our team. I would, and I wouldn't care if he played both ways. If he did, great. But I'd be excited just to have either one of them. Either position, wouldn't you?
That's where I feel like part of it, and one of the reasons, the main reason they won the Heisman is that he was playing both ways. But that's what I'm saying is if he can only go one way, is he the guy to grab, or do you grab one of these other guys that their full time has already been these other positions? So I'm just gonna have to see how it plays out. Really get into the the draft off season.
Does seem like
when that comes up.
You have the teams that are going to need a quarterback. And then you're going to have the teams that, who doesn't want to draft a Heisman guy? Are we going to do the classic Patriot thing where we trade back? We're going to trade this pick back?
I don't know. We're not the classic Patriots anymore.
I don't think we've changed enough. And until I see us drafting better, I'm really going to feel like it's just the same thing. But all right, enough with this. All right, let's talk quick Belichick right now. He signed with UNC. He's going to be coaching football.
Very surprised by it. There seemed to be a lot of leaks, and it was always. Anytime there's big news like this, especially where it comes kind of out of left field, you got to kind of think, all right, who's breaking this news? Who's this help? What's the deal here? And especially where it came out that, it looks like this is going to happen, but it wasn't officially official, I'm going to call it. And then there was some news that came out about a 400-page manifesto with demands that he had. It all seemed to me that this was just leverage. It was. He got, probably talked with a bunch of teams, but this was the one that got, the most traction. And this was just a shot across the bow to the NFL GMs saying, hey, I'm serious about this. If you aren't going to hire me, I'm going to go coach somewhere else. And thinking an NFL team will go, okay, no, we'll, even if they have a coach right now, they, wink, wink. Hey, we can't hire you right now. We got this coach. He's getting fired at the end of the year. We're going to bring you in. So yeah, I was very surprised when, a day or two go by and nope, very official, going to the college level, bringing Lombardi with him. I'm sure he's going to bring in some other guys with him, and interesting to see how it will work. The NFL model that he has. I think this is totally different than it would have been even 5 years ago with the NIL and how this works. And you're able to evaluate talent on other teams, and you can make offers to guys where 5 years ago that you could do that, but I think it was more of a losing battle.
I think some of the same strengths and weaknesses of Belichick's amazing NFL career, it's a massive loss to the NFL that he's not coaching there, are going to be the results of his college career as well. I think if you're able to coach a college team that doesn't make mistakes, you are going to have a really good chance at winning almost every game. And I think he's going to be that team that maybe doesn't have a whole bunch of flash, but doesn't turn the ball over, is really smart and takes care of the ball, and will be in a lot of games. And I think that will ultimately be a very, very successful football team. I don't know if it'll be a national championship of all this, but I don't think it'll be a bad program. That being said, the timing of it all, at least the era that we're currently in with the NIL money, you are basically negotiating with these players nonstop. And I don't know, Bill's never been a money spender. And I feel like he has to kind of be a money spender if you want to really compete with the way college is set up right now. I don't think you can just live off of the second hands of not getting those main guys. And ultimately, I think that's going to be the struggle of this program. He might build up a whole bunch of buzz year one, maybe year two. I don't know how many years he actually has left him in, which is a whole other part of all this. I'm not doubting it, but there are some chances here, and there is a scenario where either he gets all the wrong guys too, which he's going to hate paying these guys. If he ever pays the one guy and he doesn't like him, that guy's life is going to be miserable the whole year. And then he's going to transfer and get out of there. And I don't know what life that's going to be for Bill Belichick and UNC going forward either. But is there not just a scenario where the greatest NFL coach of all time just says, like, this is amateur stuff and I can win with whatever?
There's probably going to be some level to that, as well as he didn't go to Texas. He's not at Clemson. He's at UNC. And obviously I have my bias for UNC, but with football, I'm able to like separate myself pretty well. But UNC isn't some powerhouse. They've been better more recently with Mac Jones. But if you're winning, 9-10 games in the ACC, at UNC, that they're gonna be thrilled with that. Like the expectations. I mean, maybe because of Belichick, they're gonna go crazy and think way over the top. But I think that if they do better than they're doing now, they're gonna see that as a success. It sounds like he's really going with the Calipari model of the one and done, or not quite one and done because you can't do that in the NFL. But hey, come into my office. Here are the 6 rings. You want to go play at the next level? I know what that takes. I can get you there. And I think that is going to be a very compelling argument, especially if he gets that pipeline going of you start getting the top guys. And if you have the top guys in college, like that's how you create, like that's how you make like a winning team. And you don't have a salary cap. There is NIL, but if he's able to evaluate talent better than other organizations, that's going to be a huge help.
I'm just worried of bargain bill happening all over again, where he's just making decisions based entirely on, well, this is the best deal. Like you said, there's not a salary cap. I've never seen him operate that way, and maybe he'll operate differently. And I'm happy with the team he's getting. I'm happy he gets to pick his team. I'm happy that he didn't compromise with that because I know he's got weaknesses. I'm not denying any of them. We've talked about him on here, but I still think we need to let this guy cook and see what he can make before we just start taking things away. I mean, outside of a couple miserable years, the last couple of years in New England, there's a ton of examples of him doing something with nothing for a whole lot of years. And Brady was a part of a lot of that, but we were a defensive team for that first half of that dynasty, man. This is a different coach. And I hope this college recognizes that. And I think so far everyone has. Might not be like the turning point of UNC being a football program for like the next 20 years, but maybe it will be. Who knows? I have no idea. But
New England didn't have a ton of success until Bill got there. I mean, not zero success, but it's not nearly the same. He's much older. It's a different. It's still football. It's the same technically sport, but I mean, it's totally different, especially from early 2000s to now.
Yeah. All right, we have college basketball to talk about with and NBA here, and no time left. We are at the hour 8 minutes right now. So I'm going to ask you a couple college basketball questions here, and then you can list some games after, and we'll just kind of fly through all of this too.
All right.
UConn versus Gonzaga. It's one of the better games of the past week. I went all in on Gonzaga last week. Kentucky, those two I thought were some of the best teams in the country. UConn defeats Gonzaga, and now I have to rethink everything and ask you, how good is UConn? Because I thought that was an awesome win.
they seem to be back on track. I don't like to say it, but where the Maui tournament, complete mess for them. But then all of a sudden, now they had some cupcakes in there. But actually, really, they didn't have a couple. They had Maryland Eastern Shore, which is for sure a cupcake. But then afterwards, Baylor at home, Texas, and then Gonzaga. It was semi-home. It was at MSG. So definitely was packed with UConn fans. But to pull off that win, I don't think that you are confident, especially immediately after Thanksgiving, saying, I know it's at MSG. They've had success there, that, they're going to come in and win. So next game, conference game, but I think they've positioned themselves to be in a good spot.
I'm a little bit more back in. I was ready to be out on them and be like, yes, it's over. There's no way this team can continue on.
We don't have to worry about it anymore.
I had a little bit of relief for like a couple weeks here, and then this was a game where I didn't even think Gonzaga played bad either, which was even more upsetting. Of being like, damn, they didn't even get they didn't make no shots, or they didn't get any free throws, or there was some disparity or anything. Like, this was just, they played better, and the Gonzaga played good. UConn won. So we got all that. All right. Next one. SEC continues to dominate. I'll ask you, who's the best team in the SEC? Because we saw Tennessee defeat Illinois at the buzzer. Is this Tennessee the best team?
I think you have to say that right now. You can make the argument for Auburn, but Tennessee undefeated right now. They are also, Auburn is number one on KenPom, but Tennessee number two. So I'm just going to go with Tennessee is undefeated. What's cool is that they're both in the SEC, so they will play each other. So we'll be able to see this head to head. But again, another week. We're past Feast Week. We're before really everybody's getting into conference tournament time, so there's a little bit of a lull. There's not as many premier games, but in the ones that were premier games, I mean, again, SEC is just dominating.
I like a lot of the teams in the SEC, but Illinois put up a hell of a fight against Tennessee. And if you kind of slowly look at KenPom a little bit, the Big Ten is creeping in a little bit there. I see a little Michigan State. I saw Illinois. I see UCLA, Oregon, Maryland, Purdue, Michigan. How are we feeling about the Big Ten? We're SEC light, maybe? No?
I think the SEC is just so far ahead of everybody else right now.
I think it is, but I think it's going to be just as competitive. It's going to be a lower level of competitive nature in the Big Ten, but I think it's going to be just as tight. Like, none of these teams are going to be remotely as good as the SEC teams we talked about between Tennessee, Auburn, Kentucky. I do think that these teams are just going to beat the hell out of each other all the time. I'm still not used to the 18 teams in here. I see UCLA on there. I'm like, oh man, what is this, like MSG or something? Like, it's going to be a huge conference. It's all over the place. Michigan State, though, we're cruising a little bit here. All right, big games for college basketball this week. What do we got?
This week, again, like I said, we're getting towards the end of the year. A lot of teams are taking breaks, but big week for UNC. Tuesday, Florida at UNC, and then Saturday we got a doubleheader: UCLA versus UNC, and then Ohio State versus Kentucky.
We'll be at those games too.
Yes, we will.
See it live in person. Real research.
Yep.
Can't send the intern.
Nope, gotta go in person. Really get boots on the ground. Find out what's out.
All right, tomorrow night, Tuesday night, NBA Emirates Cup, Milwaukee Bucks versus the Thunder is going to be the finals here after the Bucks defeated the Hawks and the Thunder defeated Houston. We got some really good games out of all this. I know the tournament hasn't exactly been a thrill for everyone, and everyone's a little bit more critical of all this. Keep hearing NBA viewership is down. I don't really buy into all that. NBA's taking too many threes. That might be true. It just, if you take bad threes, it looks bad. Take good threes. We'll talk about a game after this that took a lot of threes. I'm happy with the tournament, though. I'm happy with where the NBA's at. I thought this was a perfect example of watching better teams play better. We got effort out of the guys. We got defense. And these games felt really intense. And I'm happy with that. So I'm okay with this. I get Milwaukee winning the finals over OKC here, though. Who you got?
I'm going to go with OKC. It was fun that Trae Young got to win MSG. And I think it was Jacoby. I think it was David Jacoby who was talking on a podcast saying that this rivalry is just good for everyone. The Knicks love hating Trae Young. He loves to just go in there and just push their buttons. It's good for everybody. Everybody just has a fun time. It seems to be at the expense of the Knicks more often than not. But yeah, I think the NBA kind of dodged a bullet, not or having it be OKC versus Milwaukee and not having it be the Rockets versus the Hawks. So, make sure, all right, we got some star power. We got Shea, he's, in the mix for MVP. You got Giannis, former champion, former MVP. You can market that. You can make that work.
Yeah, I'm happy with the results. And just as a comparison, I know it just counts as a regular season game. Or actually, I guess this one doesn't. But the tournament games generally are going to count just as regular season ones. You compare this to what Boston's going to be doing this week. Boston's going to be playing Washington. Washington only has 2 wins this year. Boston has more wins in Washington than Washington does. We've won more games in Washington as the Boston Celtics than the Washington have won in their own house all year. It doesn't make any sense. That's the other regular season games I'm comparing it to, though. We have that, and you have Giannis versus Shea tonight. Like that's going to be great. I think the Emirates Cup did not get under the credit it deserves. I'm trying to hype it up a little bit here.
I'll be watching.
Were you watching last night when the Warriors Mavs made 48 total made threes in 48 minutes?
Yes, I was, because it was right after watching the Spurs game where it was deep into the fourth and the Spurs were in the 70s. And I'm looking at it going, this is not enough points. And then the juxtaposition was just, pretty wild, where I was looking at it wondering, are we getting close to some sort of record here? I know there was times in the early days where the pace was just incredible, and maybe you just can't get close to it. But I was wondering if there was going to be somebody on X saying, hey, this is the highest scoring non-overtime game that we've had in however long. It turned out that wasn't the case, but they were definitely on pace for a crazy amount of points.
The total point distribution of this game. So of the 3-pointers, there was 144 points. Of the 2-pointers, there was 108, and there was 26 points in the free throws. It makes it sound like we shot too many threes, right? There's 48 made threes. NBA shooting too many threes. What do you think Dallas's field goal percentage was for that game as a team?
46.3%.
47.6. Off by 1. Really good.
Pretty close.
That was for field goal percentage. So what if we just did 3-point percentage? What do you think they shot from 3?
39.
50%. We're all upset. They're all taking these too many threes. It's not fun to watch. Nobody makes anything. They shot 50%. All right, we'll go to the other team here. What do you think? No, that was Golden State. Dallas shot 51% from 3 and 59% from the field goal. Golden State shot 47% from the field goal range and 50% from 3. So these are both teams that shot over 49% from 3. You can complain all you want about the threes. If anything, they should have shot more. That's too good of a percentage. It's worth 1 more point. If you're making them 50% of the time, shoot more.
That's math.
Yes. We learned that here, right? That's what the podcast is for. I guess
3 is worth more than 2.
I guess I'm just trying to argue that this was the right example of we don't take too many threes. They're good shots if they're good shots. If they're bad shots, it's going to look bad. And the argument that you want more teams to take harder, worse shot 2-pointers just to take less threes, this doesn't make sense to me. If you get an open shot and it's a 3-pointer, you're going to take it. Anything else?
It just seems like whenever there's a lull in the season that this comes up about, the ratings are down. Well, if you just compare the ratings like year over year, that's just the trend of all. I mean, except for football. Football it's like a magical being. But beside everything else, there's just so many other things. It's so easy to just watch whatever you want to watch. You don't have to wait. You don't have to be on somebody else's time. You can watch recorded things, and you have to compete with every single thing that's been created, that's come before it, whatever medium that it is. So I don't think just comparing year over year and seeing that the numbers are down means that, this is dying, as well as they just signed a huge TV contract, 6 months ago? So they're pretty locked in. So I think this is just, hey, we're bored. There's nothing to talk about. We're tired of talking about the, Embiid, and we need something to talk about. So this is what we're going to do.
All right. We got 2 minutes to get out of here. I've got bad news and I've got interesting news. Let's start with the bad news. Looks like Jared McCain is going to be out. The only bright side of Philly all year, I thought, regardless of all the drama they go through with Embiid, Paul George, Maxey, Nick Nurse, all of that, the only good news of it all was, at least Jared McCain is, a real guy, and we got him. And now he's going to be out. And it just feels like I don't want to say it's a wrap for Philly, but this was just one more blow that I don't think they were really needed to take, and now they have to deal with it. Bad news for them.
Not only that, but at the same time, Embiid broke his face again. I'm not blaming him. It's just man, the Sixers. It's just years, and then just this year, just nothing's going well for them.
All right, and then the interesting news: the Pelicans open for business, announcing the yard sale today. Zion, Ingram, C.J. McCollum. Somebody make us an offer. Straight up offering right now. I can't believe we're at that point right now. We're doing a public fire sale. I'm sure they'll definitely get the same value, just openly saying it this way, right? This is how you do business.
Probably at the worst time. At the worst time of now, the way with the second apron, I don't even think half the teams in the league are able to trade for these guys. So I'll be interested to see how this works with the new era of the NBA and the second apron, and not, all right, it's not too hard. We can make room, or we get a third team and they help us and we throw them some draft picks. I think it's going to be difficult, and I'll be interested to see how it works.
I don't see a way out. I'm happy that they have officially announced, though, that it's not this group. This collection of players, whether it was just health alone and that there was a possibility of it all, just doesn't seem like it's ever going to be possible, and we need to try something else. The window is gone. Let's see what we can get for everything we got here. There's still something here, and there are still some guys that refuse to trade as well. Some do not trade guys, Herb Jones, all that. So they're not stuck with nothing yet. But I want to thank everyone for listening. Little column A, little column B. Good podcast today, Zach. Extra time for everyone to get an hour 20. Make sure you subscribe. Follow us on YouTube, Spotify, and wherever else you get your podcasts. And you can follow Zach on his X account, which is
Wicked Z-Man 24.
Anything else for the people out there?
Go Celtics.
We'll be back.
Little column A, little column B.